Hello everyone and welcome back to What the Heck Math. Today we're going to answer the question, what the heck is the easiest way to calculate a tip? Now I know we're all probably, every single one of us has a smartphone with a calculator on it in their pocket, and you might even have a tip calculating app on that. But I'm going to just show you why that's not really necessary. Now this also can expand into calculating percentages, sales, like a 30% off sale on something, so you can kind of get an idea now of what the price is. Now the important part about this is that realistically it's not super important to get the exact number. Whenever you give a tip, more often than not it's like $2, $5. You very rarely are going to give the exact amount unless you're kind of a math nerd like me. And the same thing whenever you're looking at sales, okay? You're probably not trying to figure out exactly what the price will be, especially if you're going to have to tack on tax and stuff at the end. You're just trying to get a good idea or an estimate of what the amount is, whether it's a tip or a sale. So this method is really good for you to be able to, and it's good practice, just a critical thinking practice kind of a thing, for you to be able to figure out what the tip is or what a percentage of a certain number looks like. Now, for this, we're going to be looking at the, I didn't want that to be yellow, I want it to be white. Let's try that again. Okay, we're going to be looking at a basic 15% tip. That's a kind of a good rule of thumb tip. Most people do 15% gratuity. Now, if you're going to have a table of 40 people, usually they add on gratuity for that. But for general, just going out to eat, 15%. Okay. Now, in order to do this, you have to be good or decent at two things mathematically. One, moving a decimal. You have to be able to move a decimal. And two, divide by 2. That's it. All you have to be able to do is move a decimal, and actually move a decimal one place, and be able to divide by 2. Now this moving a decimal one place is the easiest of the two. Dividing by 2 potentially can cause some issues, but again, this is about estimating. You don't have to be exact. Okay? Alright, so let's see how this works. So let's look at an example price. Let's see, your meal ticket was $10.42, and you want to calculate a 15% tip. Now, more often than not, you don't have to worry about then adding this tip in your head, okay? Because you'll have the receipt in front of you, which is where you're going to be. You could be doing that addition math. All you're trying to figure out is what the tip is, so you can fill in the receipt on that line. Okay, so $10.42, and you're going to calculate a 15% tip. Let's actually write 15% tip here instead of $. 15% tip. Okay, so first part, move a decimal. Alright, so all you gotta do is take your total cost and move the decimal this way 1 unit. Okay, so if you have 1042, you're gonna move the decimal 1 unit this way, and then you have $1.04. Now we're gonna round. We don't have to do $1.042, okay, because you're not going to be able to give them $1.042 anyway. So you're just going to move the decimal over and round, and then you just keep that number in your head. Now if you want, you could also just kind of round this down to $1. Okay, and if you're worried about not being fair, because you're rounding down, well then at the end just tack on like 25 cents or something and you should be fine. Okay, so we're gonna round this, we're gonna leave it like this, and we're just gonna keep $1.04 in your head. So just keep it in your head. Now you're gonna take that number and divide it by 2. Okay, so if you divide this by 2, you're gonna get 52 cents. So we have $1.04 and 52 cents, and then add them together. That's all you have to do. So $1.04 plus 52 cents is $1.56. There's your tip. That's about 15% of 1042. That's all you got to do. Move the decimal over a place, take that number, divide it by 2, add them together. Now the reason why this works is because by moving it over, by moving that decimal left one spot, what you're doing is you're taking 1042 and you're multiplying it by 0.10 or 10%. And that gives you 1.042, and we're gonna ignore the 2 because we don't need that in American dollars at least. Okay, so that gives you that 10%. But you're gonna do 15%. Well, you're missing a 5. You're missing 5%. Well, 5 is half of 10. So if this is 10%, well then 5% is gonna be half of that. So then I'm gonna add 10.42 times 0.05, which is just going to be half of this, or 0.56. And then I add those together. Oh, sorry, 54, 52. I'm looking at the wrong number. So I add those together, and I get 1.56. All right, I keep doing time writing errors here. 1.56, and there's your tip. Now, so that's how you can use this to calculate a tip in your head. Now, I also said you can also use this method to calculate percentages off, and that definitely works as well. Now, in that way, it's going to be a little bit more complicated, but the method still works. So for calculating tips, we said I guess you also have to add. You have to move a decimal. Then you have to divide by 2, and then add. Most of the time you're dealing with pretty simple numbers anyway. So if you can move a decimal, divide by 2, and add, then you can calculate a tip. Now for calculating percentages off, starts off pretty simple. Move a decimal. Decimal. And then the next part, it just kind of depends on what your percentage is. You're either gonna, you might do some division, you might do some multiplication, and you might do some addition. Okay, so it just kind of depends. But this whole move a decimal thing will work pretty much always. Okay, but again, it all depends on what your percent off is. Okay, so let's do 1042 again. Let's start there. Okay. Now, what's nice is a lot of times when you're dealing with sales, the price that you're taking a sale off is not going to be some weird number. Okay, it's going to be more than likely going to be like $9.99, which you can just round up to $10 or something like that. Okay, but let's do it with this weird decimal, this weird number, just to show that it could, even with kind of a difficult situation, it could still work. All right, so let's figure out 10%. 10% off sale. Well, that one, this is the easiest one because all you have to do is move that over. And you can see that you're going to save $1.04. Now, if you want to do 1042 minus that to see what the actual sale price is going to be at the end, you can do that as well. But, you know, here you can at least know how much you're going to save. All right, now 15%, we already did that because that's a tip. Let's go up to 20%. Now you see that I'm only doing multiples of 5. Well, that's more than likely the percent that you're going to see at a sale is some multiple of 5. So let's do 20%. Now what we're going to do is we're going to find 10%. Okay, so almost all of these are going to start from 10% because 10% is the easiest one to calculate, other than 100% or 0%. Okay, so we're going to start with 10%. Now, how to go from 10 to 20? Well, I double it. So then I just take my 10% and double it. So 20% is $2.08. Okay? Well, what about 25%? Okay? Alright, well this one takes a little bit more steps. So I'm going to take my 10%. I'm going to go to 20% by doubling it, and I get 208. And then I'm going to add 5%, which means add half of that. 52. So now you do have to be able to do some addition here, but here we end up getting $2.60. Now 30%. Well, this is just 3 times 10%, so just multiply that by 3. And there you go. And then same thing for 35%, 40%, and so on and so forth. Now, something else that you can do is, let's say, okay, well, what if this is going to be a 90% off sale. Okay, now I could find 10% and multiply that by 9, but that ends up getting kind of difficult. So what I would say is, if the number is going to be above 50%, instead of calculating how much of a discount you get, calculate how much you're going to end up paying. Okay, because after all, if I get a 10% sale, a 10% discount, that means I'm going to be paying 90% of the original price. If I give a 20% discount, I'm going to be paying 80% of the original price. So if it's a 90% discount, which probably never ever happens, but I don't know, you might get lucky. But if there's a 90% discount, that means you're going to pay 10% of the original price. So what I should do is just say, okay, well, I'm just going to calculate 10% of this, which is $1.04, and that tells me how much I'm going to pay, not how much my discount is. So for example, if it's a 60% discount, well, let's just do 40%. So it's a 60% off, so I'm going to pay 40% of the original. So that means I'm going to take my 10% and multiply it by 4. There we go. Easy as that. So this would be not my discounted price, it would be my final price. So 1042 at a 60% discount is about $4.16. Well, there you go. Hope that was helpful for you. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down, and a comment, or thumbs down if you didn't like it. Please comment if you have any more videos that you'd like me to go over, and subscribe if you want to get more videos from What the Heck Math. Thanks for watching.